There's a racial animosity in America that's like a plague of sores festering on the skin of America. Sores that will not be healed by ointment or tincture or even a balm of sweet sage. It is a plague that will not go away and causes eyes in boardrooms of corporate America to lower when it's merely alluded to, causes eyes to lower in the halls of Congress. This hostility is directed at the African American by everybody, including the African American himself.
Fact: 11 teens per day are killed by violence.
Children killing children.
Nationwide, 1 out of 4 teens killed are killed by guns.
Drive-by shooting where innocent bystanders died just as easily as the target.
Last year, in Philadelphia, 81% of the children killed that were 16 years of age and under were African American.
They say you're not allowed to bring no weapons and stuff, but you know, what about our protection? What's going to happen to us? What we going to do? When somebody try to come to us and do something else, what we going to do?
Across the country, 91% of all blacks murdered are murdered by blacks. There is no end in sight.
Many people tried to figure out why this vastly disproportionate ills that black people suffer. Why? Some say, oh, it's lack of money. It's a disproportionate poverty. It's disproportionate joblessness. It's disproportionate dysfunctional families. We say it's none of these things. It's not lack of economic base. It's not lack of money. It's not lack of any of these things. We say that these things are the mere advents, are the mere manifestations, are the mere symptoms of a deeper single problem, one problem. And that problem, we give it the name of the problem. The problem. Now, the problem is that the entire society, inclusive of African Americans, has been programmed by the media to believe that African Americans' ancestors came from and evolved in an area in West Africa of abysmal ignorance, of subhumanness, of bestiality, of lack of any light of culture or education. Now, this problem divides itself into 2 impact areas. The first impact area we call psychic trauma. The second impact area we call absence of the territorial imperative. Now, psychic trauma comes from without, comes from the dominant group. Psychic trauma manifests itself in attacks of aggression, attacks on our genetic worth. Books are written. Humiliation abounds. Low teacher expectancy in the schools so that 90% of our children can't learn. This manifests itself in what we call psychic trauma, coming from without. The stripping of the territorial imperative from us is that second impact stream. What did this do? It gives the feeling that we came from nothing, that we came from jungle. You see, the poison that comes out of the television and the motion pictures, degrading us, degrading our foreparents, the Tarzan movies, which degrade our African foreparents and our African brothers and sisters, is a poison that envelops you every day You can't smell it, just like you can't smell carbon monoxide. And that poison that pours out of the television, out of the motion pictures, out of the non-minstrel shows which we look at every night, our children do, is like that poison, which depresses our ability to do math, depresses our ability to achieve in business, depresses our ability to make the kind of marks that your intelligence would allow you to make. I'm going to apologize as a member of the older set. We're apologizing to you this morning for allowing the TV and the movies and the schools to continue to poison your minds. We kill each other because of that. Out of 10,600 deaths last year of blacks killing blacks, 6,000 of them were committed by young men between 15 and 24. For nothing. Over nothing. He looked at me wrong. We hate each other because of the poison that's enveloped our minds from the motion pictures and from the TV and from the school textbooks. Now, the territorial imperative is an absolute. It's an absolute necessity for man to relate positively to the land of his ancestry. This will give him three things. Give him stimulation, gives him security, and above all, gives him race esteem. Now, race esteem is the foundation for self-esteem. Without race esteem, you cannot have self-esteem. Race esteem is the flower, and self-esteem is the mere fragrance of that flower. Race esteem gives you and gives all African Americans this pure foundation concerning our ancestry. It wipes away this lack of intrinsic value that white America has put on us. Let's make them believe that they're less than men, that they're really not human. They said, let's tell everybody that. Let's spread the word. We have control of the newspapers and the magazines. We have control of all of the media of communication. Let's make white people believe that. And then they won't establish abolitionist societies. They say, you know, that's a good idea. And in 1805, they began publishing in the newspapers and in the magazines this lie that our fathers and mothers came from a jungle. They did a good job. And they held on to that job until Tarzan came out in the movies in order to further reinforce that lie. And so our children grew up believing that lie. You're beautiful people. We have been programmed by the media, non-deliberately, in my opinion, non-deliberately lately, that is in the last 40, 50 years, to despise our looks through a psychological law called paired associate learning. By pairing our looks with degradation, with crime, lines of criminals, graffitied walls, torn down houses, other evidences of powerlessness and degradation, nobody wants to be powerless. So everybody rejects those looks which are paired with that powerlessness. On the other hand, if a certain type of looks with poorly pigmented skin and unevolved hair and pinched features are always paired with beautiful surroundings, dressed in beautiful clothing, speaking beautiful language, solving great intellectual problems, doing great moral deeds, evidencing all of the facets of power, then everybody wants to identify with power and want to identify by association with those looks. This is why Napoleon, he didn't realize what he was doing, but when he saw my nose on the Sphinx, it tore him up to think that this great thing of power, this huge monument of power, that didn't look like him. So he ordered his soldiers to train their guns on the nose of the Sphinx, to tear away the out, cursed spot, as in Hamlet. See, the old Europeans knew who we were. The Greeks knew who we were. That's why they had laws on the books of the United States forbidding us to learn to read and write, so we wouldn't find out who we are. No other race, no other group that people ever came to America's shores had laws on the books forbidding them to learn to read and write, forbidding them to know their language. They was beaten out of us with clubs. Not allowed to speak your own language, not allowed to use your own name. We're the only race here that can't speak our own language because it's beaten out of us on the plantations of the South. Make us feel that we're nothing, nobody. But you're in for something that's going to be beautiful. We're going to solve this problem. We're going to neutralize the poison that comes out of the television by having our own films showing the beauty and the grandeur and sophistication of the Shanghai Empire. The most powerful impact on the attitude is that which is the impact on your subconscious subliminally. You know, they outlawed subliminal advertising because it's so powerful. Subliminal means below the threshold of consciousness. You're not even conscious that this is happening to you. Take Color Purple. What big subliminal impact was in Color Purple? Well, because it's subliminal, out of a group of 500, nobody noticed it. What did Steven Spielberg do? And I don't think he did it I think did it consciously. Look at the color of the men. Look at the color. Think about the color of the various men. They had the darker men, the worst, the most bestial, the ones who raped their own daughters, who spoke bad language, spoke bad English, who were rough, uncultured, untutored. Now, the light-skinned man, who was Suge's boyfriend, he was light-skinned and he was very affable and very kind and very tutored. He was very nice and he greeted the ladies so wonderfully, and he was the epitome of a gentleman. Now, most people didn't notice the difference in color, but the subconsciouses did. Their subconscious noticed it and absorbed it, and not only absorbed it, but reinforced the negativity of black and the positiveness of light skin. Nobody alive today is responsible for that. So don't blame that on any white folks who are alive today. They're brainwashed too. White folks who are making the decisions in the school systems, who are making the decisions at television stations, are brainwashed. They really believe that we came from a jungle. So they're not doing it deliberately because they're brainwashed back between 1805 and 1850. So that one drop of that blood contaminates a white man. If those of you who saw Queen, remember what this girl, looked like a white girl, said to Queen. Said, one drop is too much. And that's because they made that blood contaminated in the school books, in the motion pictures, in television. Since the problem is the programmed loathing and hatred of our African genesis, then the solution is the reprogramming of African genesis, the reprogramming of the beauty and grandeur and sophistication of our African background, the reprogramming of the great cities of the Western Sudan that led the world in science and humaneness, the reprogramming of our fathers and mothers who gave to the world the light of humanity in the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, and 17th centuries. And we can do that through, and only through, drama, because drama evokes the emotion that is necessary to penetrate, as a sword, the subconscious. We just like you to control the impulse to fight one another. It was put in there on the plantation. That's how the man could control 500 brothers who could snap him across their knee by putting them against each other. That's why we kill each other, because we still have that plantation hatred, saying that we're less than good. And we're saying to you, just a little while longer, we're going to clear the air and neutralize the poison that's coming out of television and radio and motion pictures and those sexually explicit songs you hear on Power 99 and those other stations. That's just to make you have children. And then they point and say, you see, they don't have any morals. The Whispers of the Medallion is a motion picture which is the culmination of years and years of testing as to what impact will the beauty of the ancestors of African Americans do. We started off with a book to see what impact it would have on thousands of people who would read the book. This book is called The Journey of the Songhai People. We are the Songhai people. That is, all the black people in South America, in the Caribbean, and in North America, and in West Africa came from an empire, a 1,000-year-old empire in West Africa called the Songhai Empire. This was a conglomeration of 10 countries. Now these countries are there. But at one time we were together, united in an empire. It was made up of university cities and rolling farmlands, iron and steel factories, beautiful clothing stores, medical schools, law schools, to which universities Europeans came and studied at the feet of our fathers. I'm not talking about thousands of years ago, I'm just talking a couple of hundred years ago. The CD of Black Rhapsody, considered the most outstanding historical CD in the country. It not only tells the history of the Songhai people, but it also gives the story of the songs our mothers and fathers gave to the world, over 6,000 songs, call them spirituals. Also in this is the story of the eagle who had been brainwashed that he was a chicken, and what became of that. It's a wonderful story. It is used by ministers all over the United States, and that's in this CD called Black Rhapsody. And finally, we have the Shanghai Princess DVD. Now this was a prelude for us to making sure that what they could see would change behavior. The Whispers of the Medallion motion picture will expose millions to the wondrous beauty, grandeur, and sophistication of our ancestors. The love and honor of our Shanghai ancient Egyptian ancestry will envelop them. Gone will be the present uncontrollable urge to kill and maim each other. Gone will be the uncontrollable urge to patronize others' business and none of our own. Race esteem will envelop us, creating the positive achievement of self-esteem. This is not just a pipe dream. For over half a century, we have tested this science of honoring the ancestors of our ancestral land. Thousands of our people have been exposed to the wondrous world-class literacy and science of our Shanghai ancient Egyptian ancestors. The love and honor of our people enveloped them, and the self-hostility vanished. The thousands of school youths' marks miraculously rose, and their behavior became exemplary. This first picture, Whispers of the Medallion, is a fascinating love story, drenched in splendor and absolutely breathtaking, showing our homeland in deeply moving drama and excitement.